Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Angela, and I have 5 decks to show you. As you can see, these decks were decks that basically made me realize manifestation is a real thing and it works. And my dog is barking and my cards are falling out. So, I did part of this video on Ethany's 31 Days of Tarot in January. But I was still waiting on one of the decks from Kickstarter. Hold on just. And, basically I wanted to do a full video of all 5 decks together. Because, I realized in the process of acquiring these decks that manifestation is a real thing. I was always one of those that the glass is half empty. You know, I used to say if I had if I didn't have bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. And I kind of realized in the last year of my spiritual journey that every time I said that, I was putting that out there negatively. And I was reaffirming that I was going to have something negative happen to me. That I was manifesting my reality. And these decks helped me realize that, because at the time that I saw all of these decks, none of them were in print. None of them were available. And I put them on my wish list. And, then all of a sudden, one by one, they all started coming back in print, or the creator was doing a second run. And I'm like, what is happening? And so I realized that I can manifest my reality. This is something as simple as cards, but it made me realize that I have had such negative things happen to me in my life. And I've always been, you know, the glass is half empty kind of person. And I'm like, well, maybe if I start switching that perspective and think of it as the glass is always half full, and thinking positive things will start coming to me. And they have, slowly, but just that slight perspective and change in perspective of, maybe I should start thinking more positively once in a while. And it's hard to do when you've had a lifetime of thinking negative thoughts. It's very hard to break those habits. But these decks help me realize that, and help me realize manifesting your reality is a real thing. It can happen. And be careful what you wish for, because if you're in a negative mindset, that's what you're going to attract to you. That's what you're going to manifest is negativity. And trust me when I say, it's a real thing, because I've had it happen my entire life, where I've just constantly had this negativity coming at me. And I'm like, what did I do? Who was I in a past life to create this? And then I just, like I said, with these decks, they made me realize, you know, you're only as limited as your mind. And it opened up all new doors for me, in the past year. And so I just thought I would show you guys what I manifested into my reality, into my collection. These 5 decks that I never thought in a million years I would have. I now own all of them. So, and I just got the last one the other day. So for the first one, so the first time I saw these 2 decks, I was watching Lisa Pappas' channel. And I saw her do a walkthrough of the 5 Cent Tarot, and the first edition. And I'm like, OMG, I want this deck. It's all animal deck. I didn't have any animal decks. And I'm like, I really want this deck. It has keywords for the upright and reverse position. Even though I don't read reversals, I'm an intuitive reader. It's really cool. And I was just starting out, really. And then I saw her do kind of a walkthrough of this one, which was the first edition. It came in a tuck box. And I'm like, where can I get these decks? And this is based off the movie Practical Magic. And I was like, where can I get these decks? And then I realized the ones she had were first editions. They were no longer available. There was not any coming anytime soon. And I'm like, how do I get these decks? Well, then like a month later, and I'd written them down on my wish list, and I actually voiced it. I noticed every time I voice that I want a deck that's not available, it becomes available for me to purchase. And that happened this year with the cat tarot I have, which that's a whole other thing. That's this year. That's not last year with these decks. Literally like a month later, I was watching something else she was doing on her channel, and she had been working with the 5 Cent Tarot and was like, I'm pretty sure the creator of the 5 Cent Tarot is getting ready to do a second run on Kickstarter, a second edition. And I'm like, what? And I had not ever joined Kickstarter at that point. And so I went on Kickstarter, created an account, and sure enough, as soon as I went on there, the Kickstarter started that day. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I went on there, did the Kickstarter, and then I heard her mention that the same month, which was March of last year, a year ago, the same, maybe the same video or the next video, she mentioned the Practical Magic because she had been working with it. And she said they're getting ready to do a Kickstarter in March as well. So I'd already started this one, and I went on there and I started following Joseph by Grounded by the Moon at that point to find out. And then I realized he had postponed the Kickstarter because COVID had hit the U.S. pretty hard at that point. And he postponed it till May. So I was stalking him like crazy at that point. And then in May, I joined the Kickstarter for this, which is the deck I just got. But let's take a look at these cards here for the 5s. And they're both second editions, which I found ironic that they're both second editions. And it comes in a yellow box. Like I said, it's the second edition. They both editions. Why can't I open it? Maybe it's because it's upside down and backwards. Both of these editions, you could choose colors on them. The second edition had different colorings. The boxes are yellow. I chose lavender edges, lavender backs. I love this deck. And now he has the 2 Penny Oracle, which ended in August on Kickstarter, which I didn't do the Kickstarter, but I have pre-ordered it since then. To match this tarot deck. It's a companion deck, Oracle deck to this deck. So I'm getting that as well. Hopefully that will be coming in the next month because he just said I think he just got a tracking that it should be here by the end of the week. But I love this deck. I haven't worked with it a whole lot just because I've been waiting on the 2 Penny Oracle to use them together. But I love it. I love the almost Marseille style in some of the cards. I think it would be a great card for somebody, or great introduction to kind of Marseille. And I'm seeing all majors here like that. It's got the 3 matches, or like that. It looks very Marseille. But I love it also because it is totally for beginners. Because you got these keywords on here, and then if in the reverse position you got keywords, and that looks kind of Marseille-ish to me as well for the pentacles, or in this case the buttons. But I really love this deck, and I'm not regretting that I purchased it at all. And then my newest in the collection, which I just did a video on, my March decks. And look at that gilding. It is phenomenal. Did I put all of them together? Yeah, I did. But yeah, these are beautiful, and I do not regret it at all. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous deck. Cardstock is a nice and matte. It's beautiful. I haven't used it yet. Like I said, I literally got it like 2 days ago. But it is phenomenal. And I'm just sad I had to wait so long for it, but it was worth the wait because it's phenomenal. There's several spreads for it. It came in a metallic box or magnetic box. The gilding is everything. Gorgeous. So that was the 2 decks that started me on Kickstarter. And then I was introduced to, I saw a accidental walkthrough of the True Black Tarot. And at the time, I was like, that's gorgeous. And again, it was not a deck that was available. And I'm like, how can I get this? I obsessed over how I could get this deck for months. It's got this like rose petal finish. It's like butter. The majors all have this really cool metallic sheen in them. If I can find one. I can't find it. Right there. Like this death card. Look at their writing back there. Wow. All of them are like, all the majors are like that. It's just beautiful. And it's my second most expensive deck. But as soon as, look at that. Literally like maybe 4 or 5 months. I was just like, maybe 6 months, even longer. I was like, I want this deck. I became obsessed with trying to find this deck. Could not find it anywhere. And it is an indie deck as well as the other 2 I just showed you. And all of a sudden I was looking at comments on Simon at the Hermit's Cave Facebook page. And I saw somebody that said, oh, I just got my True Black Tarot in the mail. And I'm like, where did you get that? She's like, here's the link. The creators decided to start making them again. All of a sudden, and bam, I was able to buy it and like got it in like the end of the month, that month. And I'm like, that's crazy because I had been wanting this deck for quite a while. And all of these decks I saw around the same time. I just didn't get them till, okay, sorry. I didn't get them till, my dog keeps barking at the neighbor trying to leave his house. I saw all of these decks around March or April of last year, or 2 years ago now. I saw all of these decks and I immediately knew I had to have them. And it took me a while for some of them to get. But yeah, it was just like crazy. And by the time I got this one, I'm like, okay, there's something going on here where every time I voiced that I want this deck super bad, it just shows up available for me to purchase it. And I'm like, that's crazy. But I think you can still go onto their website or just look up True Black Tarot. Cause it is an indie deck. The creators make it themselves and send it off when they get enough together that they want to send off. So yeah, and that is well worth it. It is gorgeous. It's one of my most treasured decks. Then we have the Encore Tarot by Machete. I saw this and I think around the same time I saw the True Black Tarot, like the same week. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where is this deck? Come to find out, it was by Machete. I did some research. Turns out he had done his first run of this deck. Wasn't available anywhere. He wasn't making any more at the time. From what was being said, he wasn't going to make any more. And I'm like, I'm just out of luck on this deck. This is the deck that I wanted for ever. And it's probably, other than the Practical Magic, but the Practical Magic I purchased in June of last year was the end of the Kickstarter. I had already purchased it when I was still looking for how to get this deck. And I'd seen them both the year before. So it had been close to a year, if not longer, that I had been searching and searching and searching for this deck. And I'm like, I'm just going to write it off. It's not what I'm ever going to get my hands on. And I had started following Chiro Machete on Etsy and his website. And all of a sudden, I get a hit on Etsy that said, new Encore Tarot decks available. So he had all of a sudden, out of the blue, even though he wasn't going to do anymore, had done a second run and I got it. and it came to me in like 4 days. This is a deck that I was just like, and it's one of my top 5 favorites of all time. That gilding is amazing. I've shown this deck ad nauseum so many times because I feel like because I just had almost at the one point written it off that I was never going to have it, that when I finally had it in my hands, it became so special to me. And this was the moment I realized I'm doing this. Somehow I'm manifesting these decks into my possession, because none of these decks at one point, there was no way of knowing if they were ever going to come back around, if there was going to be a second run, nothing. That I had saw all of these decks and wanted them. And it floors me even now looking back. And I'm just like, all these years, I could have been manifesting so many positive things in my life, and I chose not to. Look at that. Gorgeous. Love the sunflowers. This deck is, like I said, it is one of my top favorites of all time. I got it literally when the Kickstarter for the Practical Magic ended in June of last year. Is right around the time I saw this, got it in like 4 days. I was over the moon excited for this deck. So I had it right around the time the Kickstarter for the other one ended. And they charged me and all that for that. So yeah, this is the Encore Tarot by Machete. Last I looked, he had done another run of them, but there was only like 3 left. He may have done another run at this point. I don't know. I haven't looked, but yeah, that is the Encore Tarot. Then, like I said, I saw all of these decks right around the same time. And, I got this one in like, it may have been May that I got this. May or June, end of June. I got the, Encore Tarot. But around the same time, the year before, I'd seen all of these decks at the same time. And this one was one of them. It was Oracle of Echoes by Editorian. Everybody's seen this deck. You can tell it's been loved a lot. But it was the other one that I had completely almost written off. I'm like, I'm never going to have it. There's not been any talk of another run of them. It is an independent deck, so I'm just going to hope and pray that one day she's going to do another run of these. And then in August, because I started kind of stalking her, I was following her on all of her website and basically any social media she was on, I followed her. And then all of a sudden, I saw on her Instagram that she was doing another run of these. And I'm like, what is happening? And it was just this weird thing where all 5 of these decks, at the time, I saw them all around the same time the year before in 2019. And it may have taken me a little bit longer to get this one in the Encore than it did the others. Well, other than the Practical Magic. I mean, I purchased it in June of last year, but I just got it. But all of these decks, it was just like a given that I was never going to be able to get them because they were out of print. And there was never talk of, it was like there was never any talk of a second run being done. And I had almost written off all 5 of these decks that just stuff I'm never going to have. And that was literally the first card I pulled in this deck when I first got it. Let go, which was my running theme for last year. Let go, leave stuff behind, walk away from what doesn't resonate with you, what doesn't benefit you spiritually. And yeah. But all of these decks were something, it was like the universe was saying, you can't have these. And I'm like, but I want them so bad. And I think the more it was like, the more the universe was saying you can't have them, the more I wanted them. There was this deep-seated need to have these 5 decks specifically. And like I said, I saw all of them for the first time on walkthroughs, around the same time frame. It was like April, May of 2019. And I'm like, I gotta have them. And then all of a sudden, one by one, after I had voiced that I wanted these decks, they all started coming back available to me again. And I just found that just fascinating that for the first time, I was realizing, and you may not think that they were manifested, or that I did anything. I would have been that person 2 years ago if I had watched a walkthrough of somebody doing a video like this. I would have said, "There's no way. It was just coincidental." But I have since learned in my spiritual journey, there are no coincidences for anything. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens in its own divine time. And these decks made me realize that somehow I manifested them back into my reality. Somehow I had brought them back from, never going to get it to owning all five, basically in 1 year's time. And so I just thought that was fascinating and mind-blowing, and it changed my view on so many things. So yeah, I just thought I would do a video and share those with you guys, on how I acquired all five of these decks. It's the 5 decks I thought I would never have. So yeah, if you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification button so you're alerted to any future videos. And you guys have a good night.